Craig, besides your music career, do you or did you have a job of some sort? How do you make money to do your home brewing? I hope I'm not being too intrusive. It's just something that has been perplexing me. Thank you. You're not alone, brother. This is a question that I get asked all the time, and judging by I think there's another question in this pile too with same idea, and they got the highest ratings of all these questions. People really do want to know this answer. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to be able to talk about that. Because if I do, then it could be create problems for me. So I've chosen, out of all the privacy that I give up, giving out, like doing what I do here, filming parts of my house and filming my kids and, my lifestyle and things, out of all the privacy that I've given up, that's the one of the things that I've chosen not to talk about. And I have a very good reason for it. I will tell you this. I do provide for my family. I do my share. I do have an income, and I work hard, and it's legal and it's legitimate, and it's fine. My wife also works. She is a daycare worker. I'm not going to tell you where she works. There's a million daycares around, so see, I don't want people knowing that, because you can start, listen, I get trolled on my YouTube channel. And it doesn't bother me. I just consider the source. These people who troll, a lot of times they're those stupid malt liquor guys. I haven't got time for 50 brain cells, okay? I'm sorry. If they've got that kind of a mentality where they're going to sit there and do that, like troll people like that, and that's what gets them off, then I haven't got time for that. So it doesn't concern me. However, these guys, some of them can be pretty evil. And I just don't need to be giving out certain personal information. And that's really the answer to that question. If you were my neighbor and you were asking me this, I would be glad to tell you. But this is internet. This is worldwide. This video, even if I delete it tomorrow, it's still going to be copied somewhere. And I have to be careful what I say sometimes. So I apologize. I know it's burning you up to know what, I've done lots of things. I'm fine. Our family we're not rich. Trust me, we're not. And I'm laughing because we're so not rich. I mean, we get by, on a budget, and it's sometimes very difficult. But my wife and I do everything we can, and that's all we can do. Okay? Thank you for asking, and that's my answer. Hey, Craig, look forward to watching your videos each week. In some of your videos, you mentioned that it's 3 a.m. or some crazy hour where most people are sleeping. I can't help wonder what a typical day in the life of CraigTube is. I'm a nocturnal guy, always have been, always will be. So I love the night. I love the night. It's quiet. I got lights on in here right now. Normally I got these lights off and I'm on doing this, or I'll go for a nice walk out, but there are times when I have to be awake during the day because I've got stuff I need to do and responsibilities I need to take care of. And so, I adjust things accordingly, and I do get the sleep I require. Angel says, what if you were stranded on a desert island and could have a limitless supply of only one ice-cold commercial brew? What would that be? Well, given the fact that I don't know all the beers that are out there, I would have to do a little research on this before I actually gave you an answer. But from the ones that I've drank, I know St. Peter's Winter Ale is probably my favorite beer of all time. But it's like chocolate cake. You can't just keep on eating it. You gotta. So somebody sent me I'm sorry, the name Double Hearted, a Double Hearted brand beer. They sent me a few of these at some point a couple years ago. I think it's Double Hearted. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You know what I mean. And that beer was fantastic. But I think for the most part, a beer that's nice and frothy, has a good amount of hops, and a decent amount of alcohol in it, like 5 to 6%. That's the beer I would want to have on an island with me. An unlimited supply, like if I could punch something into a tree and just that's what's going to come out, that's what I would want.
Adam Hill says, who is the best YouTube brewer?
I don't know. Who is? John Palmer. I look up to John Palmer. You know, to add to that, I think there's a lot of really great home brewers on YouTube. Really, I mean, there's some great videos out there. And I got names in my head, but I'm not going to name them because I'll forget somebody, and I don't want to offend or hurt anybody. But you know, there's a few out there that are just great. That's a personal choice.
Scott Parker says, I have been brewing for a year and you showed me how to do it. Can you tell me what kit brews you like the best, or if there is one kit that you keep going back to without changing the recipe? Thanks, Scott.
I do the Cooper's IPA a lot. I don't have a favorite all-grain recipe yet because I haven't done a lot of all-grain brewing. But you asked about kits. I would say the Cooper's IPA. I don't do much to it. The only thing I do sometimes is I add some extra hops to that because it has a great malt profile and it lends itself to having a lot of hops flavor. And it's hard to pack these hops into these beer kits. They lose a lot of their pungency. So that particular kit, adding hops to it is great. Also, the English Bitter by Cooper's I can brew that up anytime with the 5 and 7 thing, and it's always a good beer. I'm always liking that one too.
Nathan Hill asks, hi Craig, I noticed in your videos that when you read a label or instructions, you have to put it close to your face. Do you have poor vision? Or, anyhow, thanks for the vids. Was nervous about home brewing until I found your channel. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't talk about this much because nobody really ever asks, and I don't think it's really important to bring it up, especially because I don't want people to be paying attention to it. I'd rather them be paying attention to what I'm saying and what I'm doing. But since you asked, I was born legally blind, and so I am visually impaired. I am a member of the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, and my vision is below the legal limit it's below the limit, whatever that limit is, and anything below that limit, you're considered blind. And I fit into that category. So, I don't try to hide it, but it's just that I don't want to make a spectacle. I mean, I don't want people to watch my videos because they want to see, look at him, he's squinting or doing that or, whatever. I want them to watch my videos because what I'm doing and what I'm saying. And I don't want people to feel sorry for me either. So it's not something I bring up. But you asked, and there's the answer.
First concert you ever went to?
Rush, the Signals tour. Loved it.
Chris asks, if you could get all the ingredients for an all-grain beer, what would be your favorite beer to make?
Well, I can get ingredients. I can get grains, hops and things. I can't get a lot of variety. I find myself having to substitute sometimes, some of the hops, that I look at and go, oh, I can't get them, so I have to cross-reference and see what hops would be similar. And the same with grains. But I can get the ingredients to make one of my favorite beers, and that's an IPA.
What country, apart from Canada, would you like to live in?
Scotland. Scotland or England. And I know those two kind of have a rivalry, but I love that continent, that landmass. I don't know why. I mean, I love the accents. I have Scottish roots. Both of my grandparents, like on both sides, are from Scotland. And I love England as well. I would live there. But I love my country. I love Canada, and I don't think I will ever leave here. Ever.
Are you ever going to put out another album? Are you still writing music? And what is your favorite new artist or band?
I play a lot of music on my live show on Fridays, and there's a lot of songs that people request that are new to me that I think are absolutely great. And but I don't follow new music really much because it's hard to find a good new music out there these days. I mean, let's face it. The music industry has gone to shit. And most people agree with me. There are some good artists out there. Some new artists. Yeah, absolutely. But they're not the ones that are promoted on the radio and on the, everything. So they're sort of like, oh, well, we'll sneak this one in just to, give people something. But it's not the stuff that most of the music that is promoted heavily these days, I can't stand it. And as a musician, it's not just because I'm an old fogey and I don't, get off my lawn. It's not that. As a musician, I can tell you that most of the new music that's promoted out there these days is shit. And it's not talent. There's no talent in it. I mean, I can't rap to save my life. These rappers, some of them are great. These hip hop artists, these guys, do that. I can't do that. And so it's, that's not a thing that, is easy to do. So it does take some talent. But when you compare the music that's out there these days to some of the stuff that I grew up with and that you and I grew up with, if you're around the same age I would, come on, we're talking about artists, bands that were just absolutely incredible and who are around for years and years and years. I mean, I can name Aerosmith, for example. They started back in the 60s, I think, or early 70s. I don't know for sure, but I know they're still going, or they were still going recently. There's a band who's got stamina and talent. Okay? So there you go. There's an example of one of those really wonderful, amazing bands. And of course, I mean, I don't have to mention Rush. You all know that I love those guys, especially their older stuff. I got records down here. I mean, I could pull up all kinds of records right now. It could be a whole other video. So I don't have a favorite new artist really right now, but I'm sure there's lots of great ones out there. Just they're not the ones that the kids are exposed to, or that they're being pushed to listen to by the media. As far as my own stuff, I have written recently. I have written lyrics recently, and I plan on writing songs again. But when you get a little older, like I am, and I'm not a teenager anymore, I'm not 20 years old anymore. I don't have I'm not as prolific as I used to be. The cobwebs are starting to mount up in the brain, and I have other things on my plate as well that are taking up my time, whereas back then I really had nothing else to do but write songs. So I still love to sing, I still keep my voice in shape, and I still love to play instruments and whatnot, but I don't write as much as I used to. But with any luck, I will have a new song coming out in the next few months. I hope. I'm working on it.
Jonathan says, when you're brewing the Cooper's kits, is there much rhyme or reason to doing a full malt, 2 cans instead of 1 can and a pound of DME? I've done a few kits and some all grain, and we'll be doing a Cooper's kit next. So I'm just curious about the benefits, or if it's worth it in your opinion to use 2 cans. The last Coopers I made was a Pilsner, and I used 1 can and DME. And it was great for what it was, but I'm thinking of a stout or bitter next.
Yeah, I guess we sort of covered this. I didn't really do a lot of, filtering when I got these questions lined up. There's probably some repeats here. Again, if you can afford to get the malt into your beer instead of the sugars, like the corn sugar in that, go for it. By all means, try it. If you don't want to change, if you've got like a stout beer kit and you want to add more malt to it, but you don't want to add sugar to it, don't add another stout kit because you're going to end up with mud. I would add a light liquid malt extract to that because everything's already in that kit that's going to make it dark and pungent and have that flavor, so don't add another stout kit because you'll end up with shoe polish, So if anything, add a medium, like an amber liquid malt extract or a fairly light liquid malt extract. It just gives you more fermentability, more malt character, or add some grains, steep some grains, put some 2-row in there, get some mashing going on. I've got a video called Mini Mash on the Stove, and there's, lots of mini mash videos out there, so you can try that too. Dextrose is a shortcut. It's an easy way out. I do it sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you can get better quality results if you try to stick to the malt sugars rather than just the plain old sugars. I hope that helps. I'm doing this off the cuff. I'm not rehearsing anything, so I hope that helps.
Matt3360 says, what happened to the take some advice thing, and do you ever hear from him? LOL, sorry I had to ask.
I don't even think that question received any ratings, but I had to answer it anyways. Let's put it this way. It seems to me that guy ran off with his tail between his legs. No, I don't know what he was up to. I haven't heard from him. He's got his own agenda. He's not interested in making friends with any of us. I don't know what he's doing, but he's gone. So
Chris wants to know, what's the story with the camo hat? You seem to really like that hat.
Yeah, I lost that hat. I don't know where it went. I loved that hat. It was comfortable. I absolutely there you go. I found this hat out front of my house on the grass, and I washed it, and I love this hat too, by the way. Absolutely love this hat. You know who you are. And but this hat, it's just the way it fits. I don't know. It's become a thing, a Craig tube thing, I guess. I found it out front on the grass. Nobody seemed to own it. I washed it, and it's getting, it needs washing again. It's getting really thin. I don't want to wash it too many times. It's going to disintegrate. But it's been, the hat for quite a while now. And I don't know, people are used to it, and so am I.
Ruin84 says, what is your favorite go-to store-bought beer?
Well, a go-to store-bought beer that I buy all the time is James Ready, which is brewed locally here. It's not a good, it's a macro beer. I mean, you look up in the dictionary under macro beer and you'll see that James Ready 5.5. Is it my favorite beer? No, absolutely not. But it's cheap. When you pay the prices that we do up here and in other countries as well, you either don't drink at all, or you buy cheap beer and you just grin and bear it. If I was to buy a commercial beer that was more expensive, if I had the money to do so, I don't think this is the question. I don't think he wants to know what craft beer I like, but I love Hops and Robbers. Hops and Robbers is one that I've had, And the other one I've had is Crazy Canuck. Both wonderful beers. But they're not really available all the time. So, and you know what? Sometimes I don't mind drinking a Old Milwaukee.
Craig, if you could meet any person, past or present, who would that be and why?
I thought about this question a lot when I read it. And I could name off all kinds of people. I even thought of my grandfather, who I never met. He died before I was born. Freddie Bartle. He used to homebrew as well. It'd be wonderful to meet him. It would be wonderful to meet a lot of the musicians that I grew up admiring, But I came to a conclusion, and this might surprise you. I would love to meet. You better sit down. Don't be sipping on a beer when I say this, because you're going to choke on it. Okay, so I don't want anybody dying from this, I would love to meet Barry Manilow. And the reason, some of you are going, oh my God, Craig, you could do better than that. No, the reason is because I'm a songwriter. I've written many, many, many songs in my life. I play the piano, and most of my songs are based on piano. I would not have learned how to play the piano in the way that I do and write songs in the way that I do without having grown up listening to some of Barry's music. I write the songs, Mandy, all those great, great songs that he wrote or co-wrote or sang. I grew up with that stuff. That's what, my parents played it and I heard it, and I wanted to write songs like him. And, he's a great entertainer, and I could never profess to be anywhere close to his talent, but I would love to meet Barry Manilow to tell him how inspiring he was to me as a musician, and how he is solely responsible for a lot of my music. And that's why I would like to meet him. I just like to thank the man. Plus, he's a nice guy. I've seen him in interviews. He's nice. So there you have it. But if Barry's not available, I'll take Neil Peart any day.
Vincent says, what is your favorite drink?
Caesar's. I love my beer. I can drink beer every day if I have it available to me. But I really love my Caesar's. They are great. They're wonderful. Just amazingly addictive drinks.
Dion Ross says, what is your favorite hop?
So far from the ones I've tried, I really loved Immoladius sent me some Citra. Now, they were dried. They weren't pellet hops. They were fresh leaf hops, but they, obviously were dried. And I take beers in between these questions, so that's why I'm burping half the time. And I put those into a beer, and I can't remember what it was, but really, really nice. But if I had 10 seconds to grab whatever hops I could find, I would probably grab a bunch of Cascade, because they're so versatile.
What is the meaning of life?
This is a whole other video. And some of these questions I can do some Craig Talk stuff on this. We are spirits in the material world, as the police put it, the group, the police. We are spirits in the material world having an experience in these bodies. And the meaning of it is so that we can improve, learn, and take experiences and wisdom back to wherever it is we came from before we were born. And that's the meaning of life to me. It's weird and abstract, and you're going like, what? Craig just freaked me out. Whole other video. Look forward to it.
Craig, how long does a 5-gallon beer last you? Thanks, brother.
A keg can last me anywhere from a week to 3 weeks. depending on, what I'm doing. So it depends. I can put back a lot of beer on a Friday night when I'm doing my live broadcast. So sometimes that puts a dent in it.
Liam991 says, I have a question. What worries you? It may seem like a bit of a dark question, but like the rest of us, you must worry about some things, and would be interesting to know what they are so people can feel more connected or less alone with the minor celebrity sharing them.
I think the important part really is that we all have worries. I mean, you can't go through life without something to worry about. I think you'd go insane if you didn't have something to worry about. It's like a dog who would have nothing to protect. What's the thing? The thing would chase its tail, for God's sake. Mine does, actually. But and we all worry about things. I mean, God, I when I do these videos or I'm on my live broadcast, it may come across like I have not a worry in the world. But no, that's not the case. I've got financial concerns. I struggle to pay bills sometimes. I worry a little bit about the future of society and the economy and our world. And sometimes, that kind of thing, I get a little bit worried about it. Heck, I'll worry if my damn airlock's not going in 12 hours. So, we all worry. It's a natural thing. The thing you have to realize is that we're here to have an experience. You're going to worry about stuff, and we all are going to worry. And the best people in the world worry about things. Some people worry more than others, and I do worry probably more than most people do. I am a bit of a worrier. I'm a perfectionist, and when things aren't just so, it irritates me, and I get worried, and all that kind of stuff. Listen, I'm just a guy just like you. I have the same experiences, I don't live on a different planet just because I'm doing this,
Jason says, do you remember what your first beer, and if so, do you remember what kind it was? Thanks.
I don't remember it, but it was probably a Labatt's 50, because it's my dad used to drink, and whenever he asked me to go to the fridge and grab him a beer, which he did politely. I wasn't, a slave or anything like that. He would ask me to go pick him up beer out of the fridge, and it would be a Labatt's 50. And I would open it and bring it to him, and of course on the way I would take a few swigs. Probably my first beer I ever drank was Labatt's 50.
Ishtube says, here's a couple of questions for you, Craig. Why do you rub your glass and bottle with your index finger when you pour a brew? Also, when you take your first taste of a brew, you drink nearly half the glass and then do a massive ooh, which means you are satisfied with the drink. Also, how long did it take you to finish drinking the Prohibition Whiskey kit I sent you? Seems like you finished that pretty quick. Looking forward to the video.
I have no idea what he's talking about, to be quite honest. So, I don't know. Oh.
Hey, Craig, how many bands have you sang and played with? And what is the best beer, homebrew beer, you have ever made up to yet? And which was the most disappointing and why? Hope you and your family are well. Regards, Clive.
I was only ever in one band, and it's like a teenage band or whatever. I haven't sang with any other bands or anything like that, really. I was basically on my own and did things myself over the years. So, what was the other questions? The worst and best beers? Starting to get this is long. I didn't realize it was going to be this long. Well, again, my best one I ever made that I thought was really cool was my first all grain beer. But also the Craig 2 Porter was really nice as well. And I've done over the years. I mean, it's hard to remember. There's been lots of great ones, and there's been some bad ones as well. The worst one I ever made was about a year and a half ago. And believe it or not, and it was infected. There was a sponge that had been soaking in some, in one of the sinks down here, where my wife does laundry, and it kept getting wet and drying and wet and drying, and finally it started to smell, and I didn't realize that it was there because I have a dish rack and it's over top of the sink, so I can't see what's in there. And so eventually, I came down, I was going to make some beer, and I thought, man, something's reeks down here, and I found this sponge, and so I washed it out, and then I threw it away in the garbage. But I guess the mold or whatever it is that was making it smell came out and started floating around all over. And when I made that batch of beer, I sanitized, I cleaned, I did everything in the way I always do. And that batch of beer was horrible. I had to tip it down the drain. It was absolutely awful. So beware of sponges.
Sid says, hi, Craig. How many beers, glasses of wine, cocktails do you usually drink during the day?
Some days I drink none, and some days I drink, I can put away 4 or 5 beers, no problem, along with a couple glasses of wine on a heavy day. On a not so heavy day, maybe I'll just drink a couple of beers, like 2, 3, and some days I don't drink at all. So it just depends. The weekends are heavier than the weeks, starting on Friday night.
I get asked so many noob questions, and answering those sorts of inquiries in threads on Homebrew Talk that I sometimes gets repetitive to me, but I just can't forget what it was like for me when I was new to brewing, with all kinds of questions on my theories regarding homebrew. My question to you is, how does this sort of thing affect you all this time? And thanks again for helping me decide what to buy to start this beer-fueled journey.
I think I get what he's saying. What he's asking is, I've been, he remembers answering questions in forums, like, recently, and he's spent time in there and helping people, and he gets asked the same things over and over, and you start to get, a little bit bored of it. Yeah, it happens. I mean, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, and the same thing happens to me. I get the same questions sometimes over and over, and the thing, sometimes in the forums, what I've noticed is that people get angry. They're like, well, you should have searched for this before you asked for it. It's been answered before in another thread, They get really, I don't spend a lot of time in some of these forums. Nothing against the forums, and there's some great people in there, but I wish there was a little more patience for people who not only are they new at making beer, but they're also new at forums, and they don't realize that they're supposed to search the damn forum for the answer before they actually ask the question. And so people get, frustrated with them. Yeah, it's already been covered, I don't do that. I don't get frustrated with people, but I would often point people to videos that I've done, because there's a lot of questions I have been getting over and over, and along the way I've done videos on those topics. And so, my shorter answer to them could just be, go watch this particular video. You got an airlock question? I've got a video called Airlocks 101. You got a blowout question? Go watch this video. You got, you want to figure out how to put hops in your thing? Go watch this video. I understand that people have the same questions we all had when we started homebrewing, and I'm sympathetic to that.
Desert Island question. If you were stranded on an island, A, what 3 home brews would you want? And B, what 3 albums would you want?